Hello, guys, and welcome back to my weekly The Division, a player's viewpoint of the game. So, with 1.3 coming out next week, we actually have a whole lot to talk about. They've released some of the information about what's going to be happening in weapon balancing and a couple other things. So, right now, the meta has basically been there's two metas. There's kind of like the old classic striker century gear set where you're running an AUG or an SMG of some kind. And that's how you're basically getting your normal classic DPS. There's also another meta called Tanktician, where you're really, really tanky. You have a lot of electronics, and so what that gives you is the ability to get your heals back really quick, to get other things back really quick, use maybe a sticky bomb. Basically, you're a very tanky player. So, and that's pretty much the way it's been. I mean, people use primarily the AUG and the M1A, and because of that, they're actually going to be making some changes to that. So, I'm going to dive right into what some of those changes are, and then I'm going to talk about them and my opinions on them, whether they're going to be good or bad. What's my thoughts on this? Now, one of the things they're actually going to be doing is they're going to go through and right now, SMGs have a bonus of crit hit chance that is rolled onto all SMGs. Well, I should say, yeah, I think all high-end SMGs. um, this is actually going to get changed from crit hit chance to crit hit damage. Now, depending on how people are, what their group build is and things like this could actually end up being a buff. Crit hit chance is now capped at 60%, and this can be hit by getting crit hit chance on a couple of items, as well as, say, a person with good tacticians and running a pulse. And you could then max out at your 60% crit hit chance. Now you have all that extra crit hit damage coming off of the gun as well, and it could end up being a buff. But it's not an all-time buff. It's one of those things you're going to still be trying to hit that 60% crit hit chance. And if you can do that, then the crit hit damage obviously is going to be a buff in that situation. So there's a there's a lot of people arguing back and forth on Reddit. I actually feel that for a well put together group, that is actually going to be a pretty substantial buff to SMGs. Another thing they're doing to SMGs, I should say the AUG and the Vector, they are basically reducing the base damage of those two weapons by 10% across the board. So they're going to try and get people to, obviously they're trying to get people to move away from SMGs to try and look at other weapons. Those are the two, what some people would say are the most powerful SMGs. I'm not so sure. The AUG is very powerful, I'm not going to lie. It's very balanced, is what I should say. The AUG is very, very balanced. Its rate of fire, its damage, its clip size. It's not the best in any of those, but out of them all, it feels a very, very over across the board of those things balanced. And that's really where we're at with that particular weapon. So that and the Vector, which is another really popular weapon, they're reducing the damage on them by 10%. Now this definitely goes back on what they were saying before or earlier, I should say, this year, when they were saying, when we go through and do our weapon balancing, we don't want to do nerfs, just all buffs. We'll move everything up. And this is going to get into my opinion part here, probably a little bit early. I'm not okay with those. I think that if they are afraid of the AUG or the Vector being too powerful, with the way that it's so hard to kill things and how tough enemies are, and combating Tankticians and combating all these other things where DPS is really important, instead of nerfing our DPS and making those weapons say, hey, everyone's using these weapons because they're the best, maybe they should actually look at buffing other weapons to that point, instead of just, hey, we're going to nerf them because we want you to use something else. That seems like a very poor, cheap, terrible decision. But that's just my opinion. So moving on, there's some actual other buffs, so I actually do have good news. Shotguns are now going to get a stagger ability rolled on. This isn't a talent, it's kind of like an SMG. SMGs roll with crit hit, they'll be rolling with crit hit damage. So marksman rifles roll with headshot damage. Shotguns are going to roll with a stagger. So when you're shooting NPCs, it'll help stagger them. Now, they said they were working on something for PvP, but it won't actually be out in this patch. They're trying to find something that's not going to feel too broken or too frustrating for players if they get hit with a shotgun. There's already people out there running really powerful shotguns, but they did say that they didn't want to, make that experience really, really poor. So, as of right now, the stagger effect doesn't do anything at all in PvP, just PvE. Another thing that's happening to shotguns is they are getting an across-the-board 30% damage boost. Now, like I said just a little bit ago, there's already people running really powerful shotgun builds. So we may actually see people moving away from the, I think, and I know I'm definitely going to try it out, moving away from the SMG meta to maybe a shotgun meta for close combat. Another thing they're actually going to be doing is taking LMGs, and they're giving them a buff. Now, this buff applies to PvP and PvE. This buff is they're going to give them, I believe, on average, about a 25% damage boost to targets that are out of cover. Now, one thing they wanted to point out is that if you go up to a cover, you hit A and you get onto the cover, and then you I'm giving Xbox control examples. Let's say you ADS or aim down sights or pull your left trigger and you pop up to shoot. That doesn't actually mean you're out of cover. As long as you're actually sitting there on the cover, let's say you let go of your ADS and you would actually go right back behind the cover, and you go ADS or aim down sights again and it pops you out so you can shoot. You're still counted as in cover, and the LMG won't actually do that extra damage to you. But if you're not sitting on cover, firing or not firing, you will take more damage. So that's actually going to be kind of interesting. I'm trying to think of the other thing that basically they're going to be doing. Oh yes, ARs. So assault rifles, they're giving them, again, same kind of thing, an always rolled stat of damage boost to armor. Now again, this only applies to PvE, not to PvP. They said, just like with the shotgun stagger thing that's going to be rolling on there, they're going to want to try and make a PvP element to that, but right now they haven't felt anything they haven't gotten anything, I should say, they feel is a good fit for that, and so that hasn't happened. So it's one of those things. Another thing I want to throw in here as well is that the M1A is going to have like right now you can rapid fire it. When you fire a gun, so like the M1A or pretty much any gun like that, it'll the sights basically spread out, so that's like where the bullet can go. That's going to actually spread a lot wider, so it's going to be a lot harder to rapid fire that weapon accurately. So that's the change they're making to the M1A. Not particularly thrilled about that. I think they should just buff other things. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, like it's already, the game's difficult at times, already mobs are really hard, already things, you're not putting out enough DPS, it feels, in certain areas. And instead of buffing things to be in place with that, they're nerfing down the popular weapons. I think that's a very cheap, poor, terrible, I'm a noob game designer knee-jerk reaction to that. But just my opinion. I don't have nice things to say about that. And it's not just because, and I do use those weapons, but it's not just because of that. It's because you're looking here and you're sitting at, here's the meta, here is the weapons people are using. They're using them because they're balanced, because they feel well. Instead of going through and saying, okay, we're going to go through and we know these are very, very powerful, even within the SMG family or whatever. Instead of going through and fixing the others so they feel just as powerful, they just, we'll just nerf these off. Well, there's a reason why people are using that. And, just to do it across a nerf on those kinds of things instead of bringing other things up to be as good or better than them. I just feel that's a very poor decision. So, a couple of new guns coming in are going to be the Showstopper, which is basically the AA-12 automatic, fully automatic shotgun. So keep in mind now that shotguns have a bonus of 30% damage from before. They, yeah. So this name shotgun called the Showstopper. Basically, a Showstopper, the emptier the clip is, meaning the less bullets you have in the clip, the better the accuracy is. So kind of like an LMG, the longer you shoot it, the more accurate it gets. Well, is going to be kind of like that with the Showstopper. I think it's going to be a very powerful weapon. They also have the assault rifle, the G36. It has focused. When no skills are on cooldown, your weapon damage is increased by 1%. They have a marksman rifle, the SVD. Decisive, killing a target with your next shot. Will make the next shot with the weapon an automatic critical hit. Then they have an SMG, which is the PP-19, which is hurried. Each critical hit reduces your reload time to 1% with a maximum of a certain amount of seconds. So we have basically a new sniper, shotgun, AR, and SMG that are going to be coming into the game. And another thing, though, that's really interesting about weapons is they're going to allow you to re-roll one talent on the weapon. And it could be any talent you want. You can pick out of the 3 talents that roll on there, you could pick one to re-roll. And it's going to use, I believe, a currency called, I don't remember what it's exactly called off the top of my head. It's like a weapons pack or something like that. It's going to be dropping, I know it drops in the underground. I'm sure it drops elsewhere in the world as well. And you can use that to re-roll talents on your weapon. So that's actually a really good thing. So, I don't know. I like some of the buffs. I'm not happy about the nerfs. I'm really not. I wish that they would just buff things up. I think they need to figure out what they're doing with shotguns. I think that 30% boost to shotguns, I think we're going to start seeing a shit ton of shotgun gameplay, guys. So if you're a shotgun fan, if you have gotten used to shotguns, I think you're going to be at a really big advantage compared to a lot of players that are only touched SMGs. And I think it's going to be really awesome. Even with the 25% damage boost for LMGs to targets that are out of cover, I don't think it's going to be enough for them. I really don't. And I think people are still going to be using the M44 and the M1A, a lot. I don't think that that's going to change either. I'm really curious. I'm thinking that we might see people move away from SMGs to shotguns for close combat. I could be wrong. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Another thing that they're actually changing is special ammo, and this goes to explosive ammo. So right now, explosive ammo is about 4 times the damage your shot does. So let's say you do 25,000 damage with your shot. The explosion from explosive ammo would do 100,000 damage, which is why people are getting one shot with M44s. So they're bringing that down. So now the explosion from the explosive ammo will actually equal the bullet damage. So if you do, say, 25,000 damage with a shot, then you're going to do, your explosion will also do 25,000 damage. So that's kind of how that works. They're also reducing the burn duration of incendiary bullets from 10 seconds to 3 seconds. That's a pretty big nerf on that. They realized that was really overpowered. It is really annoying. And so we're going to see that. And there's other gear that's coming out that's basically will let people kind of have like unlimited special ammo and apply it to everyone in the team and do all these different things. So it kind of makes sense that they nerf that. Those are the only nerfs I can honestly say that I'm like, I'm not thrilled about, but I'm not really upset about. I'm probably going to be, me personally, I'm going to be probably swapping over to, I'll probably still use a sniper, but I'm probably going to start trying to swipe over. I already have on certain builds. I'll just kind of see how it goes, but I'll probably be swapping over to an AR for PvE and shotgun for close range PvP. I really think that's the meta that I'm going to be moving towards. I'm not sure on all the gear sets because I don't think we even know what all the gear sets are. They've kind of like E3 came out and they're like, we have this build and here are the gear sets. We don't know all the final numbers and these aren't all the gear sets and there's just a lot that we don't know yet. So other than the weapon balancing, and I like the buffs. I'm not happy about the nerfs. I really, really do think it's a bad idea in a game where people are already struggling with DPS to go through and nerf those things instead of just bringing things up to be on par with them. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. So aside from that, though, I'm still enjoying the game. I'm playing it a lot. I'm having a lot of fun. I posted a little thing on Reddit earlier, one of my videos, and I got a little heat from that from someone that basically called me a psychopath for going rogue and cutting people's ropes in the Division. There's a lot of salt in that. I think that I really disagree with what, and this is just me, I guess. I disagree with what a lot of people have said about the game, and that the Dark Zone needs a whole lot more balance and all these other things. I mean, I think they need to work on balancing weapons, sure. They need to work on balancing maybe some gear sets and different things like that. But to go through and say the whole concept of the Dark Zone is a failure, I just don't feel it. To me, I'm having a lot of fun in there. I like the PvE part of it. I absolutely love the PvP aspect. Whether I'm winning, whether I'm losing, we have a lot of fun. When you lose a big battle, it's frustrating, absolutely. But at the same time, it's hard fought. You have a lot of fun, and it just hasn't lost that sense of fun for me. And I don't know. It just boggles my mind at times what some other people want. Like, I'm just sitting here going, like, what do you want the Dark Zone to be? You see people asking for, can we have a PvE only Dark Zone? And just it, I'm at a loss. Like, I don't know how to conceptually wrap my head around some of the complaints that people have when I'm sitting here going, like, I don't see it. I mean, I understand we want people to gear up. I understand that you want things to be somewhat balanced. I'm still okay with, your gear score and the gear that you have, coming into play in the DZ. I think it's really important because that way everyone's not just running around like a Call of Duty where, pick my little loadout and we're all even. I think it's good to have that skill difference that I worked really hard, I rolled all my sets, and so I may have a tiny advantage in the gear, but, I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm still having a lot of fun with it. I really don't think that at its core the DZ needs to be changed. I really don't feel that. And it's honestly the Dark Zone and the way it is right now is absolutely the reason why I keep on playing this game. If it gets changed, if the Dark Zone gets changed at its very core, if it gets nerfified, if it gets all evened out where everything's all nice and Careberry, I will probably stop playing the game. I really will. The fact that it is so brutal and unpredictable and crazy is what I love about it. And I just hope I'm not alone. And I hope that the developers understand that moving forward and that they don't go and ruin that aspect of the game. So that's about it, guys. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to my rants. And I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. I really try to put in my thoughts and opinions and give some info. I know there's a lot better places to get some of this info probably than on this video. But I do appreciate you guys listening. And if you like the video, please hit a like button. If you want to hear more of these, because I do put them out every week, please subscribe. And until next time, have a good one.